What inspired Natural Motion, a UK-based developer, to create a game based on American football?
It's a great fit for our Euphoria technology, obviously. I think you can kind of break it down. You can see that sport itself is a great fit for our Euphoria technology because of the way that Euphoria actually makes a real live sports experience, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later on. So breaking it down even further, you can see, okay, well, it's perfectly suited to sports. What sports is ideal for? And you look at football and you think, okay, to the outsider, you look at a football match and a football game, you see, 11 guys lining up against 11 guys, and it's an incredibly physical beast of a sport. And I think we had a feeling that with our animation technology, we could kind of respect the sport at its base level, the fact of just the energy and the power that is displayed, the athleticism, the incredible hits, just the fact that, from any given second, you're never quite sure what is going to happen, and that's what we can bring to the table. And football just seemed like the ideal situation for us to carry that out.
Okay, the trailers, even from the first one made public, look great, and the visual style appears to be very clean. What led you to this design decision?
One of the reasons for the visual style we went for was because we really needed to get in close to the players, but also bringing the camera down to the level that we have meant for the first time ever you're actually able to see that you're really playing in a stadium, and that there is 70, 80,000 people watching you, and you can see them jumping around, you can see them getting excited. And it's not just in cutscenes that you see this. If you're streaking into the end zone, you see the crowd reacting to whatever it is that you're doing. So we took a lot of care over building stadiums that really played up to that.
What's been going on since the initial announcement 2 years ago?
The running camera has been something that we've probably tweaked on an ongoing basis. Like every fortnight, every month, we would see another member of the press, and we'd kind of go, okay, we'll change it this way. So you guys, we haven't just been talking to you guys in order to get publicity for the game. We've realised that this is something that is very, very different, and we want to make sure that we get it right. And I think I know recently I've showed some of the press the game fairly recently, and I'm pretty, I'm willing to stick my neck out and say that I am 100% happy with the running camera now. I think it adds something incredible to the game in that you don't get if you hover the camera way above the field. I think it brings a feeling of really being in control of the player that you're controlling at the time. Obviously, you have to see the holes, you have to pick the gaps and break through them. You feel the intensity of the tackles, and I think that we've tweaked the camera enough that it doesn't feel like you're running blind anymore. And I would admit, I think probably around 6 months ago, we weren't quite there with that camera yet. I'm 100% convinced that we're actually at that point now. I'm very, very happy with the way the camera is now.
Excellent.
Certainly on the running game as well. And the passing game, because the camera again sits down behind the quarterback, you're faced with problems that you don't have if you have a godlike view of most of the field. It's something completely different, and it's hard to put across unless you're actually some of you guys, I doubt many of you guys have actually been able to get a real sort of hands-on with the game. So you're obviously waiting for this and trying it out yourself. In my mind, it gives you the most realistic experience of being a quarterback that you can be. You're looking over the line in front of you. You're scanning the field using the right stick to look for an open man, and it's not every time that you can see a man open, and it's a challenge. And we've sometimes had questions like on people sort of saying, it's too hard. It makes it harder to see what you're doing, and I refuse to admit that it makes it harder. I think if it makes it harder, it's because it makes it more realistic. And I think for the first time, people playing a football game are going to actually appreciate the sheer talent that these guys have, and not just quarterbacks in any position. You need split-second reactions. You need to think ahead. It's not a question of flicking a stick to the side, flicking the right stick to the side, and immediately that split second making a move, because that's not the way the human body works. And this game is about real human motion and live sports, and we're really excited about the way it's coming together.
Is Backbreaker an arcade or a simulation game?
We're definitely erring on the side of simulation, and I don't think we can get away from that because, we use a full rule set, we use full 11 on 11, we've got full playbooks, everything. We're not producing a kind of throwaway title, if you like, and we definitely sit more on the simulation side.
Okay, what are the different game types, such as season, franchise, arcade?
We have an arcade mode and a pro mode in the game. And instinctively, you might think that that's like a sort of difficulty setting, but I think I mentioned before, probably some of the developer diaries that have been up online, that really the difference in our game between arcade and pro is very similar to the way that driving games a lot recently have, sort of training wheel assists and, driving assists, like showing on the track where the best racing line is and when you have to brake, when you have to accelerate, that kind of thing. Our arcade mode is all about putting those kind of training wheels into the game. And this goes even as far as to say in full arcade mode, if you're playing on defense, and you're zone marking, you'll be able to see the route that a receiver, like the opposition receiver, is going to take, that will take him into your zone. And some people are probably spluttering to their tea right now, going, "Well, that's sacrilege." But it's really something that we wanted to do that really, really simplified, really broke the gameplay down, and helped people that weren't necessarily au fait with the kind of whole defensive strategy of the sport to really get involved as well. It's been very, very successful when we've tested it. So that's the difference between arcade and pro mode. Of course, you can switch those training wheels off. You can customize them. We have a custom mode as well, so that you can kind of turn whichever assists you want on and off. So you'll see that as soon as you guys get hold of the final code. There's no worries there. And then pro mode is completely the opposite, where there's like no player highlighting and there's no assists whatsoever, and that's for the real hardcore people that can read a game very well, especially on the defensive side of things. On the side of like season and franchise mode, we have two different types of season mode. The first season mode is, we call it season mode in itself, and that's exactly what you'd expect. You can take one of the teams in the game or create a custom team, and then you put that team into either an 8, a 16, or a 32 team league. And then you play out the seasons. The seasons will roll on to each other. You can develop your team as you go. You can sign new trade players. You can have those a draft. You're scouting college players. So that's a good full experience, and people can spend a lot of time in that. And of course, you don't have to necessarily use all of the teams that we're shipping with. If you had all the hours in the day, you could create any number of teams. You could perfectly fill up an 8, 16, or a 32 team league with like custom teams that you've created and play seasons out that way. And those seasons end with like full playoffs and everything like that, everything that you'd expect. The mode that me personally I'm quite excited about is our Road to Backbreaker mode, which goes about things in a slightly different way. Basically, it's kind of I guess like a rags to riches kind of thing. You'll start out with a custom team, so you design a team, and you can use one of the pre-created teams as a template for that. We have no issue with that whatsoever. You can mess around with the logos we've made as much as you want. But the whole idea is, you take one of these custom teams, you start them out in an 8-team league, and basically we have a system of promotion and relegation, which anybody listening in Europe will completely understand, and obviously you guys get that as well, but I know that it's something that doesn't feature very heavily in American sports, but it is something that we're very, very excited into bringing into video game sport, especially with this thing. It fits video games perfectly because it always gives you something to fight for. On a kind of micro scale, you've got the drama of being on the field and really feeling the hits and the intensity of the game. But that's wasted if on a macro, on a wider scale level, you don't feel that same excitement.